In this part, we're diving into one of the most important skills every programmer needs: working with files. Imagine you're building a note-taking app or a logging system or just saving user data. At some point, you'll need to read and write text files. By the end of this video, you'll know how to open files, read their contents, and write into them. First, here in our file and folder, let's say we got this simple example.txt. And inside of this, let's say we got some random text. And now let's come back into our Python file, and now we can start coding. First thing that we want to do is how we can read content of our text file. And for that, first thing is to open our text file in our Python. And how we're going to do this? Well, first here, let's say we got this file variable right here, and then we equal that with this open built-in function that we got in Python. And here it's going to grab two arguments from us. First one being the name and the path of the file, and the second one is the mode that we want to open our file. But for this, because it's in the same directory, what we need to do is simply having the name of our file right here, which in our case is going to be this example.txt. And then here for the mode, because we want to read and get access to the content inside of that example.txt, we need to pass this R. And by only having this, if we come down and we got another variable of this content, then we equal that with this file, and then we use this .read method right here. And if we want to print that content, what we need to have is simply this print right here. Then we pass this content. Now if we run our code, you can see right here we got the text where inside of this example.txt printed into our output. And if you want to get rid of these extra lines and printings right here, what you can do is open your .run extension settings, and for that you can use the shortcut of Shift, Control and X. And then here you're going to find this code runner extension that we got right here. And here if you click on this icon, here you got the settings. And if you come down, you're going to see this show execution message. And if you uncheck this one, you'll no longer have those items. If we want to check, let's get rid of these items and open our Python file again. So here it is. If we run again, you can see we only got the output and not extra things that we got earlier. But pay attention, you saw that we got printed the inside and content of this text file using our Python script and Python code into our output. But this is the point. Always when using files and working with files, remember to close that file. Here we open this file right here, and at the end what we need to do is target the file we have opened earlier and then use this .close function. And this is the safe way and right way of working with files and reading one text file's content. And if you don't use this close, there's going to be some problems further in your code. But we got some other types of reading than only this simple read function, which the next one we're going to cover is this read line. And by having this, if we run our code again, you can see this is going to grab us only the first line in our text. If we have our text file here in the bottom of our screen right here, you can see this is the first line that we got. So we got this one printing right here. And this read line basically reads one line at a time. What I mean is, first time this read line runs between of this open and close, it's going to grab the first line for us. The second one is going to grab the second line for us, and third one is going to grab the third line for us. So we're going to duplicate this item twice right here. So first time we're going to read, it's going to grab first one for us. Let's clear our output and run again. You can see first time it grabs the first line. The second time it's going to grab the second line, and third time it's going to grab the third line. Pay attention, we're not talking about how many times our code run, we're talking about how many times this function have been run in this file between of this open and close functions. But if you want to grab all of the lines in a list, what you can do is have this readlines method. And by having this, if you run, you can see you got a list of all lines. Here we got the first one to be the first line right here. Then we got the second line to be our second item, and third one to be our third line. But now let's say after we read our files, we need to write some data into our files. Well, what we can do for that is here, instead of using the read mode, we can use this W as overwrite mode. Pay attention, if we use this mode, our code is going to come and remove all of the things inside of this file and write new values. And for having that, what we need to do is simply having this file, then using this function of write. And here we're going to have this string of test from Python code. And pay attention, if we clear our output right here, if we run, you can see it got changed, this test from Python code. And pay attention, this is not output, this is actual file that we got right here. So this is going to change the file for us. And of course, you can have different codes. For example, we got misspelled Python here. If we make this correct and run again, if we check here, we can see again our code came and run and replaced and overrides the thing that it was in example.txt. But let's say we want to have this item remaining in our text file, but add some another thing into this. What we can do is using our append mode, which this mode is going to write to the end of the file and the text is going to remain, and only we're going to add some other things. For example, let's say here we got this other text to be in file. Now, if we run this, you can see we got this test from Python code, and then after here, we got this other text to be in file. And pay attention, if you want to move this to one other line, let's remove this part right here. What you can do here is using this \n. And if you run again, you can see it goes to the new line. But another cool thing that we can have is read and write at the same time. And for that, what we need to have here is this R+. And by having this, we can read and write to the file. For example, here, if we have this simple read, and let's print this one into our output too. If we run this, you can see we got this test from Python code, another test, which is our file right here. And if we want to write something, instead of this printing and reading, we can have this .write, and here we can have, for example, this numbers of 1, 2, 3. But let's say we want to add these items to the new line, so we got this \n right here, and now if we run, you can see it got some random thing into our output. This was not what we were looking for. And to fix this, what we need to have, let's say we got our original text right here, and we don't want that one to happen, and for that we need to first read our file. So we got this file.read, and now if we run this, because we have read that item and content inside of this text file, and then we're going to write this item and add this, it's going to work fine. Now, if we run, you can see we got this 1, 2, 3 in its right place. And basically, when you want to use this R+ mode, you need to have this read at the first, then this write, if you don't want to have some complex outputs. Now let's close this output right here, and we got our file down here. Now you know how to read and write text files, but this is some complex way of having this open and close function each time you're working with a file. If your code gets bigger, you probably forget to use this close at the end, and that's your applications and code's vulnerability and bug basically. But we got another cool syntax that we can use which prevent this bug in our codes, and that is using this with keyword at first. Then we use this open method that we talked earlier. Then here we pass the regular things that we talked earlier. For example, here we got this example.txt right here. Then we want the mode to be this R right here. And then here we got this as, and we pass the name for this opening right here, which we use this file. And this line basically is as same as we use this file variable and use our open method after this. But here we're not only creating variable, here we're going to have this columns, and we come into the block of this statement and line of code. And here we can do anything that we want. For example, we can have the simple print of our file. Let's read. And if we run, you can see we got this result right here in our output. Or if we have this override mode, we can have this .write, and we can have this Python to be override this item. If we run again, you can see we got this Python overriding the actual text that we got earlier. And this is basically automatically closing our file for us and cleaner and safer to use. But let's say we don't have our file and text file in the same directory as our Python file. How we can move this? Well, that's as simple as using files in any other programming language or actually any part in any computers. For example, let's say we got this text here and we got this file inside of this text. If we move that to there, what we need to do instead of this, let's say we want to overwrite this number 123 again. If we run this, it's not going to do that for us. So we're going to have this text / this example.txt. If we run this, here you can see we got changed this item. But in some other cases, we want to create other file. For example, let's say we remove this text folder and example text inside of it, and we got only our Python file right here. But we want to have, for example, some users.txt, and we want to write some users data in that. For example, let's say we want some simple names. Let's say we got Tom, Ted, and John. Now, if we want to create this file, what we need to do is only using our W type. And now if we run, you can see it created this text file for us. And if we open this, this is the result and text that we want to save in this text file. But what happened if we accidentally misspelled this item? For example, let's say we want to change these items to be only Tom, but instead of having this users.txt, we misspelled this to users and then have another extra s right here. This file is not exist. And if we run this, again, it's going to create another file for us. But we don't want this to be happen. So we remove the second file, and we need to check this file exists or not before using this item. And for that, we need to import some module and library first. So we're going to import this OS. Then we're going to have this if statement right here. Then we're going to use this os.path.exists function. And then here we pass the path. So here, if we have this users.txt, of course, as string right here, then let's comment these items out for a moment. If that exists, print exists for us, else print file not found. Now here, if we run this, you can see we got this result of exists because we got this file right here in our folder. But if we have some misspelling right here, for example, this double S, if we run again, you can see we got this file not found. And the way that we're going to use this is simply have this path variable right here. Then we equal that with this users.txt. And here, instead of having this string, we're going to use this path. And then if that exists, we want to run these code that we got right here earlier. So we got this with open users.txt, and we need to replace this with this path too. And then we got our same else part right here. Now here, if we want to, for example, change this users of Tom, let's have that item and text file here too, like this. First, let's say we got some wrong file name, for example, this user double S. If we run, we got this file not found. But if we correct that and run again, you can see we got our success and our file has been changed to this Tom. And basically this was it. In this part, we covered how to open, read, and write files into Python. You learned about the file modes and even this with open keyword. In the next part, we're going to work with CSV files, which is the most common way to store table and data. So don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to be aware of the next videos coming up. See you in the next one.